Solicitors report.
So moved.
Motion's been made.
Second.
All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Township Managers report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is the Emergency Services Report for September 2017. Sellersville had 24 calls, 8 of which were in West Rockdale Township. Sellersville Route 309 had 3 calls, 3 of which were in West Rockdale Township. Telford had 20 calls, 5 of which were in West Rockdale Township. Telford Route 309 had 2 calls, 2 of which were in West Rockdale Township. Tylersport had 15 calls, 1 of which were in West Rockdale Township. And Trumbarsville had 41 calls, 5 of which were in West Rockdale Township. Any questions on the emergency services?
I don't, but I just want to make a documentation here. We have a fire company meeting coming up, right?
On the 24th,
24th. Okay, thank you.
6 p.m.
Okay, thanks.
All right, the next item is the West Rock Hill Building Reports. You have a list of a copy of the reports that have been issued. Also for the month of September, $12,926.71, bringing the grand total to $83,139.05.
That's a good month.
It was a busy
Compared to
month.
what we've had.
Very good. Any questions on that?
No.
So we beat the budget.
We beat the budget.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the zoning permits report and the payment of the bills.
So moved.
All subject to audit. Second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made, second. Discussion?
We should pay the bills.
Payment of the bills, yeah.
We didn't review that.
You didn't get to the bills?
No, I went
Okay.
over the building and zoning.
Okay, sorry. I'll hold that then until we get through that.
The next item is the treasurer's report and payment of the bills. General fund is $529,605.86. Highway 8 is $266,665.83. The open space is $1,784,927.69. Park fund $11,205.98. The equipment fund $18,699.09. Highway capital $124.47. The street light $33,529.15. The reserve funds, the general fund reserve is $304,252.98. The open space manager field is $50,654.88. Sewage maintenance fund is $165,518.45. Stormwater fund is $7,068.81. And the escrow funds is $160,958.40. And the open space Durstein fund is $24,221.75. You also have a copy of the list of bills.
Any questions on the list of bills or the financial report?
Now I move for approval, all subject to audit.
Okay,
Second.
motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, ayes have it.
The next item on the list is the Public Works Report. Goes over the maintenance done on the roads. Arm Road, Simmons, Barn, Catch Basin, Shoecraft, North Tower, 1000 Acre, and Shady Lane. Installed a trench drain on Old Mill and Bethlehem Pike. Patched around the grate, patched Simmons and Gold Mine. Crack sealed Gold Mine, Simmons, and Shoecraft. Replaced a 25-mile-per-hour sign on the Sterners. Replaced stop sign on Lonely and Ridge. Straightened stop sign at Old Mill and Forest. Followed around the sweeper truck of the oil and chip roads. Picked up a dump sofa at Haveler and Ridge. And monthly inspections of the cross pipes, culverts, and crates. Any questions on the Public Works Report?
None for me.
No, I have none.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second. All those signify by saying aye. Aye.
The next item is the Joint Recreation Authority vacancy. In your packet is an email from Suzanne Clark withdrawing her name from the being considered to be on the Joint Rec Authority.
Okay.
Yep.
So we will continue the search.
We do have an opening for someone who wants to join the Park and Rec. The Sellersville West Rock Hill Joint Rec Authority, which manages the Holiday House pool, if anyone would like to be on that board. We're looking for people that really want to come in and help make a change.
Okay.
The next item is the fire contracts. We have 3 fire contracts, 3 out of the 4, and I'm just looking for an authorization for the board to sign the annual fire contracts after the meeting.
Okay. I'll make that motion that we do
Or
that.
do we need all 4 before you can do that?
You'll sign the 3 that are here,
Yep.
Okay, all right.
and then I'll work on the one that isn't here.
I'll second. Don second.
Okay. Motion's been made second on that issue. All those signify by saying aye.
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 And if our meeting is the 24th at 6 o'clock, you said?
At 6 o'clock. The last item is in the board's mailboxes. I put in the 2018 draft budget just for your review. The process is that we do a presentation in November of the budget, you authorize advertisement, and then from there we go to adoption at the December.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Great. Any questions for him? All right. I'll make a motion. We approve the township manager's report as presented.
So moved.
You're seconding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Old business. I have one thing, if I may. Update on PennDOT roads. Mr. Linden, as you can see, the Ridge Road was completely finished, paved by last meeting, but I didn't see you here, so I couldn't report that to you.
Sorry, I missed it.
Have not had any conversation or information to this date on Cat Hill Road. So we're still trying to find out when and what can be done, but it has not been on the list. Okay?
Thank you.
You got it. Anybody else have any old business?
No.
New business?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
I'd like to make some comments about this meeting that we had this evening and the input we got from our residents. We faced a similar situation probably 10 years ago, and we resolved that issue where the same kind of implications were there. And I'd like to propose and look for agreement and approval from the other members of the board. I'm going to suggest, because of the perceived activity surrounding everything relative to this quarry, that we begin to clear the air. And I'm going to propose that we put together a committee. The committee would be made up of myself, and I would select Ben Body, if he's willing to, Chris Thurstein, representatives from whoever these people that have complaints, they want to provide 2 representatives, and have Steve available as a part of that. And then we would bring that to the board in an effort to dispel and do whatever we do to try to clear the air on this subject, because it's a subject that the community has indicated to us that we've had 2 filled rooms like this. We had 2 rooms with plenty of people at planning commission meetings. They're concerned, they're disturbed, and I think we need to do something, fix it. And I think I should make this proposal, and that we'll bring a proposal back to the board to approve for whether we go or no go with the Quarry request.
Well, I thank you for your comments, but this is a process that is in the process, and we're not done the process yet.
But we weren't on the other one either.
It's not, I'm not sure what other one you're talking about. Are you talking about the batch plant?
No.
The applicant submitted a request to amend the comprehensive plan and zoning ordinance. There's a really strict procedure for that set forth in the municipality's planning code. And you have to comply with that procedure. The Board of Supervisors the Planning Commission has to review it. There's no getting around or reducing the number of members on your Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has to review that, make comments. There has to be a public hearing, and the people have the opportunity to come in and speak. The only exception to that would be if the board decided it wasn't even going to entertain it that far. But to have a secondary or a different process than that, there's
Still
no
a planning process.
But the planning process is prescribed. The municipality's planning code calls for a planning commission, and the planning commission has to be created by ordinance, and then it has to act in accordance with the municipality's planning code. And you've done all that, so,
What's illegal about
I think what I'm saying is you're avoiding a required legal process, and that is having the planning commission finish its review and make a recommendation to the board of supervisors, for one.
So it's taking
That's not my
time.
understanding.
And I don't mean to be at all disrespectful, but this is what I do for a living. And I've been doing it for a pretty long time. And I know what the laws say, and there isn't, the courts, the appellate courts in Pennsylvania are very, very strict about compliance with the municipality's planning code.
Can we,
You
I
did it
don't,
before, why can't we do it again?
I'm just not sure what you're talking about.
Total. Well, there was a perceived conflict, and
Can you speak up? We can't hear what you're
I
saying.
said it was the total development. It's approximately 10 years ago. We had a similar situation, real or imagined, but it was not going anyplace, and it's not getting done. And certain people were involved indirectly, and it was an issue in the community. And we were able to sit down and have that discussion and bring a proposal to the board, and that can be presented by the planning commission. But we need to isolate the questions and what I perceive as a trust issue. So that's my proposal.
And there is a similarity between the title situation and this one in that it has divided the community, or perceived to divide the community. So far, the Board of Supervisors. No, I haven't heard a lot of people saying different things on this, and I don't see that the board's made a decision. But there's a process, and the review of the materials submitted by the applicant are going through that process. So,
They were then too.
I don't recall an ordinance amendment for the title. I don't recall that they made a formal request to amend the zoning ordinance. I recall that
Up against here,
situation.
right?
I beg your-
Aren't they asking for changing the ordinance?
Yeah, but I don't remember that that was the case in title.
Maybe we should look into that.
that's on record though, right? Can that be looked into?
I'm sorry.
You're speaking and you didn't identify yourself.
I'm
If you
sorry.
want to speak, raise your hand and I'll identify you.
Whether I look into it or not doesn't change what the
Exactly.
law says the process has to be.
Okay.
Trish Erlinger, 410,000 Acre Road. How long will the process take then? Like, we've been waiting, like, what is the, can you give us an idea? What's the holdup? What's taking so long?
I think right now what we're waiting for is, we requested additional information from the Quarry regarding some of the issues that the residents have complained most about, that being water quality, water supply, noise, and vibration, and expansion. And we're waiting for answers to those questions.
And is there a time frame? Like, can they just wait and answer whenever they want? Like, how long are you going to allow them to answer the questions?
Right now, it hasn't been more than 30 days since the request went in. I think we made the request after listening to public comment at the last meeting and hearing what the concerns of people are. And I think that the planning commission is hoping to get that for their November meeting and make a recommendation at that time to the board of supervisors.
I just didn't know if there was something we could do to push things along or move things forward, because again, if this is about unity, it shouldn't be a battle against supervisors and all that. I mean, that's how we all feel threatened.
And when I made the comment about the perceived division, that's what I was referring to. I understand what the process is, so I hear what you people are saying, the board hears what you people are saying. It doesn't mean anybody disagrees with you. It just means that there's a process and you have
so
to
we're
go through the
waiting on
process.
them, basically, for their comments. or
Right,
what-
and then
what have you.
if they don't respond to, the information that was requested, then the planning commission has the ability to make a recommendation without it.
And how long do you give them for that? Like, what's the
Well,
wait? Like,
but
how long-
a reasonable amount of time, and I would think that you would want it, Mr. Durstein, a week or so before the meeting so that you had a chance to review the
Sure.
information.
I mean, we would have preferred to have it this month.
Certainly.
We're
Right,
we're
I
not
just-
trying to hold this up. To have it this month, we wouldn't be sitting here tonight having this discussion. If they're in next month, we would love that. If they give us information, if they give us the information that we're requesting, if they give us anything close to unsatisfactory answers, I think we're probably, I'm speaking for myself, not for them, should be able to make a recommendation after next month's meeting if they come prepared with what we ask them to bring. If that makes sense.
Well, it does, but I just
Wait,
didn't
we're
know
not
if
We
it
would
involved
love
was-
to
in
end
comment.
this, trust me. But we're taking our time.
Well, I didn't know,
it's-
because we were talking about legal issues and stuff, and I didn't know if there was a legal time frame. Like, that's what I don't understand.
Well, there is a legal time frame.
That's
If
what I
you
mean.
look at the municipality's planning code, it says that the Board of Supervisors has to make a decision within 60 days of the filing of the application. And I'm just getting so technical with you, but
That's
if
fine.
you look at some of the other provisions, like curative and conditional use applications or zoning hearing board application, there's a deemed approval in there. So if you don't act within that certain amount of time, the application is automatically deemed approved and the applicant gets what they want. Those time periods have to be adhered to. In this case, the legislature doesn't provide for a deemed approval process. So the only recourse the applicant would have would be to go to court to order the Board of Supervisors to make a decision, in which case no applicant in history has ever done that, because if you force somebody to give you an answer, you're probably not going to like the answer. So I think I'm recommending to the township that we have had a very litigious history with the Quarry, and that the process go forward in a deliberate, careful, and thoughtful manner, so that whatever decision the Board of Supervisors makes will be supported factually by the information that's uncovered during the process.
Mayor, I think we just have to start the discussion within 60 days. I don't think the board has to make a decision in 60 days.
I think what the code says is they have to have a hearing within 60 days. And then you have up to 90 days after the hearing is held to actually vote on the ordinance. So, yes, you're right about that. I'm just not trying to overwhelm people with 4,000 details, but technically, yes, you're correct about that. Frank?
Frank Schimendera, 1030 Allentown Road. I sat on the planning commission for about 10 years. And people have asked me, how does the planning commission make a decision? And I told them, I says, if my brother came in and wanted something done and it wasn't right, he wouldn't get it. If my worst enemy came in and wanted something done and it was right, he would get it. And I think I've worked with some of the guys that are on the planning commission now, and everybody heard the respected Jeff Markley, and I think that was almost the code that we operated under. We go by the laws that we have to follow. Sometimes the results are not what the residents want, but I think everybody's listening. And I think what Don's proposing is really, I don't want to, maybe the term's too heavy, but a smack at the planning commission. I could tell you, if I was sitting on that planning commission and we agreed to do that, I would turn my resignation in tomorrow because you're superseding the power that they were given.
All right.
Or a special situation sometimes.
It's not a special situation yet.
Process, it's a
It's
process.
a process. It's a process ongoing right now.
Yes, no, this isn't business. This isn't business, okay. Anyway, Mr. Duval made a proposal. I tend to agree with Mary and the planning commission. This is a process, and we're gonna follow this process through to get all the facts and information, and we are going to listen to all of the input of all of you folks, as well as everyone else that we can get input from. That's what's right, and that's the process that we're going to follow here, from my perspective. I will say, for my new business item, that I would like to suggest that the board allow Greg to go through with what Steve had identified in a letter of his some time ago, is to hire our own independent hydrogeologist to do a study on the water. That H&K has had their own hydrogeologist do a study and give their results. Because the number one issue to me, as well to all of you, is our water. That is number one. If the water is not right, then we got problems. So I think it is wise to allow the township to hire their own independent hydrogeologist to do its study. Of course, that has to be, you have to get RFPs for that, right, a quote. And come back.
It's not,
It's a message to
it's not legal.
I said that. That was a request that Steve
Steve.
identified
Greg
it.
said.
No, Steve identified it in one of his letters.
Original
Correct
one.
in saying that?
Correct.
Original one.
Yeah.
If there's interest in time, professional services never have to be bid out. Like, RFPs are not a bad thing, but somebody has to draft the RFP, then it has to be advertised, then you have to wait
Okay.
for the responses. So that could postpone things longer than you want. Steve must know hydrogeologists, Greg must know hydrogeologists, I know hydrogeologists. We could make some recommendations and get someone to review the materials and maybe even have some information for the planning commission.
Would I be able to get support from the fellow board members to do that?
We should be dealing with the planning commission to start with.
Well, you need the board approval to
Yeah.
spend money.
Right?
So,
I want to tell you why I'm in favor of that.
okay.
I've lived on Thousand Acre Road for over 40 years. I've not had to put in a new well, but I had to put in a UV light because after they started blasting, my fecal count went to a point where it was uncountable. I have a salt water system. I had to put in a whole house filter, and I've been drinking bottled water for 25 years.
Who has to live like that? That's what I'm saying.
I understand that, Tony. So yes, I want to know what's on Thousand Acre Road. I can tell you that in the 25 houses around me, there have been 10 cases of cancer in 25 houses. So yes, I want to know what's in that water, if there is anything in that water.
Okay.
So there's my answer.
So I have a
Question.
yes. First, go ahead. Name and address, please.
115 Thousand Acre Road.
Name.
Max Sicko.
Max
Speak up.
Max.
Max. Okay, Max.
So you said that they're like, if What would we do if there was something in the water? Like, how would that be fixed? How would that be handled?
We won't know until we get the results. We don't know what the results are.
There's a lot of different things, there's not just one answer that he can give you, but if it turns out something's in the water, then we'd have to be able to, we would report that right away to DEP and to the Board of Health so that the township would have help in dealing with it. But then, part of that investigation would be to figure out how it got in the water, who put it in the water, what's the best way of cleaning it up, what's the best way of getting the residents water. And usually when they know there's something wrong with your drinking water, bottled water is supplied right away so that people aren't drinking it. And it depends on what the contaminant is, how the situation is remedied.
Michelle Shedders, 260 Acre Road. I don't think you people get what's going on here. They have already admitted to impacting our water supply. They have acknowledged that continued pouring operations will continue to impact our water supply. It's not just the quality of water, there are many other issues as well. I don't understand why you can't just see, no one has come before you, not one person has come before you to say they are in favor of this project. Yeah, look at all these people that are here time and time and time again, telling you that they do not want this project in this township. That quarry, they're mining the Brunswick and the Lockatong formations, which basically run parallel to Ridge Road, to the origin. Those formations go right to 1,000 Acre Road. And a lot of us are now starting to wonder, what is the H&K big picture? Karina really calls it the Quarry Creek. They take a little bit here, they take a little bit there, but they have a big picture in mind. Reclamation is huge money for a quarry. The larger they mine, the bigger the open mine pit they create, the more reclamation has to be performed. And that basically is only means fill. Fill. What are they filling with? There's plain fill, and then there's regulated fill. Regulated fill includes things like asphalt. 25% of that quarry can be filled with asphalt. Historic fill, dredged materials. And it is up to H&K's discretion, basically, to supervise what comes in to their quarry. Basically what they do is, they consume the land, they push off all the good soil or the high Shannery silt loam soils of farmland importance. We have these overburden piles. They blast, they mine, they take all the stone out, and create this big hole. Now they need to reclaim it. And what do they do that with? They bring in fill. And they charge a fee for that. They make money on that. They make money on the stone. Then, when that's all said and done, they're gonna take that overburden pile, and it's in their application if you read it. And they're gonna sell that and use that for off-site fill and make more money on that. And in the meantime, bring in more fill to fill the quarry because there's a 20% settling factor. It's just a big, huge money pit. Ultimately, it will be an unmanaged water impoundment. And I have said this before, when those pumps turn off, that groundwater will rise. And the groundwater will come in contact with that construction fill material that is in there. And if we're concerned right now about the water quality, what's in the water, what do you think generations down the road that toxic cesspool is going to be? What kind of a legacy is this township going to leave if we allow the quarry to create a huger environmental disaster beyond which they have already put onto the township? I think, Don Duvall's comments about they're not out of line really, because if you look at this application, it's 180 pages, and I don't know if you've noticed it, but the quarry has a way of purposely wording things so that they're deceitful. And it really is mind-boggling to sit there and go paragraph after paragraph through this application. I've been to many of these planning commission meetings, and questions are not being asked that should be asked. And I think a lot of people are wondering, like, what is the correspondence going on right now between the township and the court? Like, Chris just said that they are hoping to make a decision next month. Well, how can they do that? What's going on behind the doors here? You know, are there some kind of perks and concessions that you guys are looking for to get from the quarry that you think might be to our benefit? Well, none of it's going to be to our benefit. Nothing, just the thought of allowing that quarry to expand and grow more. It's a residential conservation area. They knew they were going into a residential conservation area before they went in there. And when you look at other quarries, most of them are in industrial areas. And we have these zoning laws in place to preserve the homesteads that we have, to preserve the quality of life, the drinking water. And allowing this quarry to rezone and expand really, does contradict everything that this township does stand for. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Jim, do you have any new business?
Yes, I just want to announce that Sellersville Fire Department is having an open house on Sunday the 22nd from 12 to 3. Take your kids over. They do events there, burning a building, burning cars. It can be a lot of fun, and you really get to see how the firemen work, and you get to meet them.
That's kind of funny, the way you phrase it, Jim.
Well, it's what they do.
Kids love that stuff, they do.
Support your local fire departments.
Yeah.
They're there
It's a
for
nice
us.
event. Go over and get some free cider.
Okay, moving along then, next on the agenda is public comment. If you have any, please state your name and your address. You were first, in fact.
Megan Banis-Clemens, 917 Thousand Acre Road. I have a situation I wanted to share with the community, but I had a couple quick questions first. What are the enforcement procedures for ordinance violations?
It depends what ordinance, different ordinances. have-
Ordinance 202?
That's solid waste management.
Yes.
I believe that enforcement procedure is a citation as opposed to a civil penalty.
Right, but what is the procedure for issuing a citation? Who issues it? Who does it go through? Does it go through you? Does it go through the supervisors?
Greg is the code enforcement officer.
Okay, but does that go through your office before it's issued?
Not always, sometimes not.
Why would it sometimes and sometimes not?
Sometimes he'll have a question about interpreting the ordinance, and sometimes he won't.
So you don't issue those ordinance violations? It doesn't go through your office to be issued?
No, the state law does not provide for the solicitor to also be the enforcement officer.
Okay, so in this particular one, 52-01, 52-003-077, where it went directly through your office, and you were the one who
Excuse
issued
me,
that?
I want to stop this a minute. 'Cause
Sure.
I want to ask, this is public comment? This is
Yeah.
public comment time?
Okay,
Any questions?
so I shouldn't ask-
Are we getting?
I
off
have
track
no
here?
idea what you're talking about.
Okay, that's fine. I won't
And
ask
if-
questions,
and
I'll just share.
If you
That's
want
fine.
to talk to me some other time about
Yeah.
it, that's fine, but
This
if you
is
have a
public
comment you
comment
want to
right
make, you can go ahead and do that.
I was just asking that question because it had to do with what I was going to share, but I'll just
I
stay right
have
to what I
never
was going to
signed a
share.
citation for West Rock Hill Township ever.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll skip right ahead then. In ordinance 202, which was enacted in 2010, there's only ever been 2 citations ever issued for this violation, okay? Both of which were issued to residents on Thousand Acre Road since we've had a supervisor elected on Thousand Acre Road, okay? The first one here went through 6 months, okay? I have documentation for right to know request, which was given to me after my hearing, conveniently ready after my hearing, even though I filed it weeks before. The township decided to wait until after my hearing to actually give me the information. 6 months worth of letters and warnings to these people on my road saying, you're in violation, please comply. Giving 15 days notice, please comply. Here's a copy of the ordinance you violated, please comply, okay? And then finally, after 6 months of this, okay, and this was a lot of trash, okay? They were finally issued a citation 6 months later, okay? In my situation, I tried to throw out a toilet, okay? I put the toilet out at the end of my driveway for the trash company to pick up. The trash company did not pick it up. We didn't know why. I've never had issues with my trash company picking up my trash before. So I contacted the trash company to find out, why they weren't picking up my trash. They said that now they have a bulk item rule, which I've thrown out bulk items in the past. I've never had any issues, okay? So they said I needed to schedule it in advance. I said, no problem. Let's schedule it for this week then. So in the meantime, I got contacted by Greg, asking me to please move the toilet from the end of the road. That's literally all the email said, and this was via email. The rest of this was sent, and I can show you the citation in the letter that was sent to the other resident on my road, okay? That was sent with a letter from Mrs. Everly's office with asking, it was actually sent to the courthouse, and they had to serve the citation on that person. I got a one-sentence email without even the information sent to me, okay? I contacted Greg. I told him what was going on. He said, no problem. He said, it's going to be gone this week, no problem. Okay, next thing, Jim Miller comments on my situation. Immediately, 5 people that are buddies with him conveniently call the township complaining. Immediately, Greg calls me and says, you know what, I've gotten complaints. Can you do me a favor, move it 17.5 feet from the road, okay, until the next trash day so people don't get upset. I said, no problem, Greg, you're just doing your job. We pulled it 17.5 feet from the road, waited until the day before, okay, on Wednesday morning, we put it back out. Okay, it was going to get picked up on Thursday. It didn't get picked up on Thursday. We have 24 hours before and 24 hours after based on what the language says in this ordinance, okay? It hadn't even been 24 hours yet, and I had a citation sent to me, okay, from Greg, no warning. After I had let him know that it was getting picked up, he told me it was fine. I did exactly what he told me to do. I get a citation for like $800 for my toilet. I contacted him. Okay, I didn't get it till a week later after I had to break up my toilet. Friday, when they didn't come, we broke up the toilet, put it in the trash can, pulled it away. The next week we sent it out. Okay, Thursday I get the citation in the mail, which was a huge shock to me. My toilet had already been gone. I followed everything he said to do. Okay, I contacted him, asked him about it, and couldn't understand why I was getting this citation. Immediately after questioning him, okay, Jim Miller confronts my husband on my driveway. Very odd, okay, that within hours of a conversation with Greg, all of a sudden, Jim Miller has all the facts, and they're colluding back and forth on exactly what's going on. Completely inappropriate. In most of these cases, okay, the supervisors are all consulted before a violation is issued. It usually goes through the attorney so she can make sure it's actually a violation, which mine was not, because not only was it within the 24 hours, but it refers to a waste container, okay? And a toilet is not a waste container. And it further goes on to define exactly what a waste container is. A refuse container shall be made of durable, watertight, rust-resistant material having closed-fitting lids and handles to facilitate collections. Clearly not my toilet, okay? So I was not even in violation. I was completely vindicated in court. But it's ridiculous that I am being targeted, okay? Targeted because because I'm on the school board and his wife is on the school board, and because we don't see eye to eye, they target everyone that they don't like. Everybody that they complained about, okay, before he got elected, all of a sudden is getting citations. What a coincidence. They went after my next door neighbor because they wanted Ada to be able to ride her horse on his property, and he said, sure, no problem, but there's holes in the property and I don't want your horse to break its leg. And just to protect myself, could you sign a waiver saying that you won't sue me if your horse breaks its leg? They were so offended. Every single time I spoke to them, they complained, okay, about how horrible that was. As soon as he becomes supervisor, all of a sudden they're targeting him. I actually, in 2015, the very beginning of 2015, I had an HVAC system it was a botched thing. I had tons of trash to get rid of. At the time, I was friends with them, okay? So when I went to try to put out my trash, it took months to get rid of all the insulation, everything that I had to rip out of my house. Never heard a peep from the township. It wasn't a problem because I was friends with them. Then as soon as I wasn't friends with them, my husband put out trash one day because he put it out early. Immediately a picture is taken from across the street and sent to Greg, who emails me saying, please remove your trash because it's out too early, which we did, okay? But this is why people don't volunteer to serve in this community, because they get targeted by people when they disagree with them, okay? And there's people on my road, they know every time the Millers are walking up and down the road, if I'm doing anything, I'm going to get a visit from Greg because they're going to contact Greg and tell him to come out and make sure that they're not doing anything wrong, okay? That's exactly what keeps happening to several people. And you know what else, okay? In my hearing, do you want to know who came to my hearing as a big surprise? Jim's campaign manager and the Democratic committee woman came to watch my hearing. Isn't that a bit odd? How many trash violation hearings do you think those people come to, okay? And tell me that's not political, for them to come and watch my hearing on a toilet. The judge thought the case was absolutely ridiculous, couldn't even understand why we were there. Neither could I, okay? I mean, these are the things that are happening. I actually have pictures because this happened. My hearing was right after Septemberfest. So the weekend of Septemberfest, my husband was irritated because he's driving around seeing trash cans, which actually violate the ordinance because the ordinance only applies to the can itself. Okay. He's seeing them lining the streets. So he started taking pictures. I have plenty of pictures to show you guys of the trash cans all up and down the road. You want to know how many of them got letters? None. You know why? Because they didn't piss off the Millers, okay? You want to know something else? I was on the soccer board, okay? I don't know who approves township letters that go out, the township, these that come out, okay? But when Jim Miller was running, he got front page on here while he was running against a seated supervisor, okay? I have a letter that I sent as the secretary of Pennridge Yellow Jackets before the September newsletter went out stating that we were not going to be able to go forward with this field unless they did all these things the township was not ever going to do, okay? I have a letter, I have it dated, it was sent to Greg, it was sent to Jim, okay? Then, after that, they decided to advertise in here that they're still doing what they knew they weren't doing. Telling you all these promises. Continuing after that, you remember seeing this? Okay, coming around when he's running for re-election, talking about how he's putting in these fields that he knew he wasn't putting in anymore because there was rebar and concrete in the fields that they were trying to hide from Don, okay? And then Don found out about it, so they wouldn't even let me read my letter in this meeting when I came prepared with my letter to read it. They didn't want me to read it that night because they didn't want it to affect Jim's campaign, okay? This is a collusion, okay? And if this stuff's going to continue in this township, and you guys are going to keep going after me and my neighbors for your crap, we will sue for harassment. So just put this on notice, because I did not violate this. I was vindicated in court, okay? And you guys have absolutely no right. And I can show you picture after picture, trash cans lining the roads, okay? Same time. In fact, one's on my road, okay? On my road at the same time my toilet's out, there were actually trash cans all up and down the roads. None of them got citations at all, okay?
Mrs. Clemens,
Yes.
your time is up. By our law, you're allowed 2.5 minutes. I'll have to go way over that. Thank you for your public comment.
Can I just mention too, that it's probably inappropriate when we have potholes all up and down our road to purposely fix one pothole in front of their house and then wait a month to come back and fix the rest of the potholes.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else with public comment? Yes, sir.
Jason Novak, 811 Thousand Acre Road. First off, my hats go off to you, Don, for making the people of the community feel appreciated. My problem here is more, Frank said about appointing positions to board, people, to board positions. I think we made a mistake as citizens of this community electing Jim Miller, okay? And this is an integrity issue more than anything. My wife and I bought our house, 811 Thousand Acre Road. The previous owners, the Undercoflers who lived there. We thought it was our dream home, the place we wanted to live forever, okay? And it wasn't until recently I was actually pretty neutral about the quarry, until I talked to the Shedders a couple weeks ago, and they told me about the water issue, okay, that we've been drinking, because actually our house was advertised to us as not having the water softener hooked up, okay, to the drinking water, okay? So we thought the drinking water was safe. We had no idea, okay? We have 4 young kids, and we feed them organically every day, their whole lives, so that they don't get sick, okay? To find this out is really upsetting, okay? But part of the reason why I'm a concerned citizen is, my story, and I know Megan's talking about trash cans and whatnot, but, when we moved into the township about 5 years ago, Jim Miller stopped and talked to me while I was standing at the end of the road, and he said, I hear that you guys are redoing a 200-year-old barn on your property, which we were. He said, great, I think it's a great idea, okay? We have a committee that we're joining to redo the James barn in the township, and the committee would like to come over to see the barn and get some ideas, okay? So I said, no problem, I'll have to talk to my wife, and we'll set a date, okay? Within a couple of weeks, he was knocking on the door, and 2 or 3 times, right, Jim?
I was at your house twice.
Okay.
Twice in total.
2 or 3 times, and a couple
But
phone
for-
calls.
And my story's a little
Okay,
different, so you go right
no,
ahead.
it's my
Ask
turn
me
to
a
talk,
question.
He said that a month later, right before, we had refurbished our barns, because we have the old barn, the Undercoflers did a great job keeping the outside nice. The inside needed some work done. We started doing the work. Family members and friends said, can we start having parties in your barn? We agreed to it, okay? We thought, what a way to make some extra money, and we were hosting 5 weddings in the spring and 5 weddings in the fall, okay? By the way, we did not apply a permit for permits, okay? So, we admitted guilt to that in our variance hearing. 30 days before our first wedding that we were going to host, we received the day of the first wedding we hosted, we received a cease and desist letter from the township, okay? And what ended up happening was we applied for a variance hearing. We go to the variance hearing, and Jim and Ada Miller are there. Again, what he thought was a great idea, all of a sudden, they're there opposing, okay? So our goal was to offset the cost of maintaining a 200-year-old barn, okay? And we were asking for a variance. We were not asking to rezone our property. We had 50 signatures of people up and down Thousand Acre Road and Allentown Road in favor of it. There were a few neighbors, and some of them are in this room, that opposed it, okay? But anyway, we lose the variance hearing. We accept that. We end up hosting a communion party privately, okay? Our Christian homeschooling group year-end banquet, and then we ended up hosting a wedding for a friend, no charge, okay? We were told by our attorney, no charge, they can't do anything about it, it's not a business, okay? So we get a letter from the township after these events suing us for $60,000, or attempting to sue us for $60,000, okay? So we go to court. Who's in court? Jim and Ada Miller. And not only are they there, but they're also talking to Greg and the township attorney in the other room while we're with our attorney, okay? So it is collusion, as far as I'm concerned. They have something against the people, and it's an integrity issue in my opinion. So that's really all I have to say. Jim, if you know, we knew all it would take was to pave your driveway anonymously, we would have done it for you. So that's all I have to say.
Is there any other public comment?
Yes, Karina Rilling, 217 Thousand Acre Road. I just wanted to tell you that we have a petition opposing the rezoning of the lot that we're all talking about. And I wanted to share with you that we have to date 270 signatures, 95 of which are online signatures with comments. So I wanted to tell you that there's a considerable body of people opposed to the rezoning. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Elizabeth Branson, 210 Reagan Drive, actually known as Betsy. And we moved here 10 years ago. And when we lived in White Marsh Township, I was on the Open Space Committee because saving open space and the environment was so important. So we checked out West Rock Hill before we moved here as to what the ideas and what the planning was for conservation versus building. And thought, you know what, this is a good idea. We moved here. And somehow, I think a neighbor found out what I did in my last township. So I was invited to be a member of the Conservation Committee. And what this township has done to conserve the environment, open space next to state game lands, we have a big process to evaluate the properties to be conserved. And what I'm concerned about, if we have an area that's conserved residential, where this quarry wants to expand, and if that's overturned, then what would happen to other conserved areas? Would that set a precedent? And I think it's important, especially and with water issues. I've learned a lot about water issues here and in other communities, and that is very important for the people that live here. And if 80% people here have wells, that is really something we can't take a chance on that. That's my comment.
Thank you for your comment.
I just don't want anybody to leave with the wrong impression. The property that the quarry seeks to expand is zoned in a conservation district. Properties that the township have paid money to conserve by conservation easements or by purchasing the property are restricted by documents that are filed at the courthouse. That's not a zoning designation. It isn't something that can be changed. So I don't want anyone to fear that the time and money and energy that the township's put into its open space conservation program is in any jeopardy, or that somebody could come in and file an application and have that designation removed. That's something that is a lot more permanent than zoning regulations.
But what is more permanent than having this quarry expand into an area that is conserved, and then the water is...
Oh, you're absolutely right. A quarry expansion is also very permanent. I'm not arguing that. I just, my point, the only point I was trying to make was to assure people that properties that the township had purchased, either in fee simple or by conservation easement, were protected.
Okay, yes, sir. Name and address?
Bob Hurler, 410 Thousand Acre Road. One thing I've been concerned about since December when I first came here, one of my concerns with it is, can someone on the board enlighten me or give me the definition or the legalities? What is involved with a resource extraction zone? What are they enabled to do? What are their rights? Is there something down, written in paper, what they are allowed to do, what they are not allowed, because if you got a residential zoning, it's one thing. Industrial zoning, it's something else. Commercial zoning, it's something else. What are their rights? What can they do? What can't they do? Is there somewhere?
Yes.
I tried going down the law library down in Bucks County. I didn't get too much information from there.
No,
So-
you wouldn't have to go so far. If you go to the township building and just sit down and take a look at the zoning ordinance,
But is it cut and dry what they can, what they can't do? Are there any, what I'm trying to say to you, is there any loopholes that somewhere down the line, because they got very expensive lawyers too, and like it was also brought up, that they have ways of wording things that if they find a way around something that is a kind of a gray area that isn't set in stone, no pun intended, can they come back somewhere down the line? Like, from what I read in an article that my wife and I were looking for, and it came under resource extraction zoning. Once they get that approval, from what I understood, it pretty much takes everything away from you guys. They pretty much have the right to do whatever they want on that property once they get it zoned resource extraction. And they pretty much have gold blanc or carte blanche, whatever that saying is, to do whatever they want. And it takes all the responsibility off of you guys. And right now, we have that. I mean, where it is right now, at least we have some say in something. And if it comes to that point where they get this zone for resource extraction, I'm afraid that it's too late, that we can't turn back time and kind of control something that we actually have a little control of right now. That's what I'm afraid of.
you're absolutely correct. And that's one of the reasons why the Planning Commission is being deliberate in its process. The board is, what you're saying is true.